Hey, how you doing? This is RJ. So, Wednesday, Thursday is usually the time that I put out one of my interviews, but since Christmas was last week and I sort of took Christmas off and so did everybody else, I didn't have an interview, so I thought I'd do a short video here just for the middle of the week. And since these middle of the week videos are usually about storytelling, I want to combine that with what I usually talk about, which is heroes, but in a storytelling focused kind of way. And today I'm going to focus on why it simply makes sense to tell virtuous hero stories in this day and age, right now. Now, I've talked about this philosophically, I've talked about this logically, I've talked about this according to art and everything else, but I want to talk about it as why it makes sense to do it economically now more than ever. And I suppose I'll touch on as well why something like the comic industry or other entertainment industries are failing because they don't tell any kind of virtuous story. But before I get there, I just want to remind everyone that my new graphic novel, The Valiant Heroes, is still up on Indiegogo. It is the original campaign that is open. It is an 82-page superhero spectacular about true heroes. And there are stretch goal extras that you get when you order when the campaign is open. So after the initial campaign is over, it will still be in demand and you can still order some things from it. However, all of those freebies that come with the stretch goals, you can only get if you order during the original campaign. And we've hit 2 of our stretch goals so far. We will probably reach the 3rd one before the campaign is over. But the original campaign is ending in a couple of days, so if you want to get those freebies with your order, if you intend to order, then now's the time. And I'm doing this because from the original campaign, I can usually map out how much I make and how much I can spend on the next campaign. So there is a reason for this. And by the way, you're looking at some of the spectacular art from my graphic novel in the background. So if it looks appealing to you at all, or you're interested in reading a good, solid hero story, then you should click on that link in the description and go on over and see if my graphic novel is for you. And that does segue nicely into my topic, because I'm talking about why you should tell good, virtuous stories, heroic type stories, and why it makes sense now more than ever financially to do so. And I won't bury the lead, I'll tell you exactly why that is, but I'll go into explaining it in a few minutes. It's simply that moral people, people who don't take the easy path, are the people who will spend money. That's pretty much it. If you have a story about virtuous people, about people being virtuous, the type of people that are going to identify with that story, the type of people that are going to like that story, are the people who like virtue, are the people who have virtuous habits. And on the contrary, the people who have vicious habits, who are attracted to vice, well, they're people who have, I guess the easiest way to explain it would be impulse control issues. They want what they want and they want it right now. If you go back a couple of 100 years and you look at the beginning of things like criminology, what they would say is criminals are childlike minded individuals. That is to say, they have no impulse control. They want immediate gratification. And so they're not willing to delay that gratification until later on. And the thing is, again, if you're spending money on something, that's delayed gratification. You're actually saying in your life, okay, I realize that I'm going to have to go to work, go do something to make money. I want to make this money because I want to spend it on X, Y, and Z. Now, what we're talking about specifically is spending it on entertainment. That's something important that has to be noted here, but the same principle applies. Someone who goes to work knows that they're going to work because they want to get money, because they want to spend it on something, and if they want to spend it on entertainment, they will do so. And the point is that we're not used to thinking like that right now, because for the last, 40, 50, maybe 60 years, you've had these kinds of stories that were based on, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They were actually appealing to the baser natures of people. They were appealing to that immediate gratification of people. And they did sell. And so you look at that and go, yeah, well, that stuff sells. Why can't we do that right now? Well, I'll admit, they do sell. But I'm looking at people around me, people who are making crowdfunded comics, for example, and I'm looking at some of the art that they are putting into their books or giving you in pinups, and I'm thinking to myself, what you're doing, since you are basically, in some instances, just turning it into a skin magazine, what you're doing is that you are sacrificing any long-term gain for a very short-term gain. Now, I have to put in here very, very firmly that yes, put in beautiful women. Please do that. That is something that is desperately needed in today's entertainment. But if you're putting in beautiful women in order to stimulate the reader in the way that it activates their immediate gratification and nothing else, and especially if you do that at the expense of storytelling within entertainment, you're just going to lose. Quite honestly, this is why I started to get out of comics around 1995. Because you had the image guys taking over, and those image guys could draw very nicely, and they were drawing very attractive women, but that's all you were getting. You were getting something that was a very light skin magazine at the expense of any kind of real storytelling, because I'm sorry, but most of those guys could not write their way out of a wet paper bag. But here's the thing. The reason why this worked in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even into the 2000s, was because the people in control of entertainment, the people selling it and distributing it, did have exactly that, control over the distribution of your entertainment. And so, to some extent, you had to pay for this thing. You're only going to get it from them. That's the only place you're going to find it. They're saying, if you want it, you got to give me money. This is a free market exchange system. If you want this entertainment, you have to give me money for it. And so, since that was there, they did have some control. And they were able to have their cake and eat it too, because they were able to cash in on this immediate gratification in a way where they controlled the fact that you had to give them money for your entertainment. That is no longer the case today. There is almost nothing within mainstream entertainment right now that you cannot find for free on the internet within days of it being released. And the only reason not to pirate something is a moral reason. Now, I've heard so many YouTubers talk about this over the years, and they try to pin it on something else because they don't want to appear to be any kind of, prude. Because they go back to, well, you're helping the industry. You're supporting starving artists. If you were doing this, you would want to get paid for it as well. Without realizing that all of those arguments come back to justice, the virtue of justice. It is a moral argument to be just. It is an argument to be virtuous. They try to couch it and hide it in so many of these little avenues and try to backpedal and say, I'm not doing it for this reason or that reason. But honestly, philosophically, if you break it down to the fundamental principles of their argument, that's the only argument that can be made. If there is no moral reason for you not to pirate something, there is no reason at all for you not to go on the internet whenever you want entertainment, even if it's new entertainment, and go and find it. Because again, you can find top quality copies of almost anything within days of it being released. And no matter what kind of argument you make for, well, I do it for this reason or I do it for that reason, it all comes down to justice. It comes down to this person produced this product, and it is only just for me to give them something in return if I'm going to consume it. And this, by the way, is the feedback loop of why current entertainment is failing. First of all, because you had those 4 decades of preying upon people's baser nature, of just training them to have no impulse control at all as an audience. And then, all of a sudden, when the people producing the entertainment lost control of the distribution system because of the internet, all of those people would just go on the internet and watch it for free, read it for free, play it for free. It doesn't matter. If you're someone who does not have any impulse control at all, if it has been worn down to a nub, if you are vicious in that way because you've been trained to do so by the entertainment that you consume, then why in the world would you bother to delay that gratification at all to say, yeah, I got to go to work and then I got to make some money and then I got to go pay for this entertainment because it's the right thing to do. There's absolutely no way you're going to do that. And so, number one, this entertainment system, again, has been, since the 60s, doing that to its audience. And so they were selling their future for short-term gains. Sure, it was short-term gains that lasted 40, 50 years. But now the chickens are coming home to roost and they can't do anything about it. And at the same time, they push this quote-unquote progressive ideological mindset, which is a socialist, communist-based kind of mindset, where you say, yeah, you know what? I shouldn't have to work for anything. You should give me that for free. Where the basis of their political ideology itself is there's absolutely nothing wrong with me. I don't have to look at myself. I don't have to care about myself. If there's any problem, it's your fault. Such people, if they have no introspection at all, have no impulse control because they can't look inside themselves and say, oh yeah, I gotta go to work. Why? Because I have to make money. Why? Because this person actually has something that I want to trade them money for, even if it's entertainment. That's introspection. That's looking in on yourself and wondering why you do the things you do. These people cannot do that. And so, again, you have this double whammy of people who have no impulse control because of their entertainment and then have no impulse control because of their political ideology, and they're not paying for things. Why Marvel or DC or any of the big television or movie producers think that these people are going to voluntarily spend money on their product, I don't know. The whole purpose of their ideological mindset, plus how they've been trained by entertainment for probably their entire lives, is, yeah, you should give me that for free. That's why they virtue signal on Twitter or any kind of social media that they can get a hold of. Why? Because it costs them nothing. And then they don't go buy the thing that they've been talking up forever and ever on social media. But again, the entire point is that if you want to actually produce entertainment and get paid for it, because I'm sorry, but the idea of art for art's sake is just ridiculous. No one makes art for art's sake. If they do, they're doing so in their basement and no one's ever going to see it. Someone has to pay for it. Something has to pay for it. You cannot get art for nothing. You have to, at the very least, spend time to make it, even if you don't have to spend, I don't know, things like money for canvases or for paints or for technology that you can use in order to produce these things. Someone has to pay for it. Perhaps you're the one who's paying for it. If you are, then you're just making entertainment for yourself. Someone is paying for it, even if that someone is yourself. And again, as I said, the point is that since we live in a free market society where people exchange money for goods, and entertainment is that goods which you are buying or producing and want to sell to people, the people, if you are someone who creates, the people who you want to attract as customers are the people who actually will give you money for that product, not the people who say, yeah, that looks great. I think I'm going to rip it off the internet. And if every reason, no matter how convoluted or backpedaling, always comes down to the only reason you shouldn't pirate is because of a moral reason, which I would affirm that is the case, then the only people that are going to consistently give you money for your product are the people who actually have a virtuous stance in life. People who have enough wherewithal, that I would call right reason, in order to be prudent enough to say, yeah, I gotta make money in order to pay for things. Why? Because it's only right that I give these people what is their due. If they're making something and I'm consuming it, then yeah, they have a right to some exchange for that work. And if those are the people that you necessarily want to attract as a producer of entertainment, then give them stories which actually show them the exact thing that they themselves are. Give them heroic stories. Give them virtuous stories, because that's the only way you're going to attract these people. If Hollywood or television or the comic industry is going to continue to titillate its audience with sex, drugs, and rock and roll and nothing else, especially at the expense of story, then what are you going to do? Even if you have those people that are going to give you money to begin with, you're going to wear them down in their impulse control, where at some point they're going to say to themselves, yeah, why in the world am I continuing to pay for this? And it isn't like you have to be some kind of computer whiz to find these things for free on the internet. I had said a long time ago, probably in an old video or a live stream, I used to work a while ago in a library. Not that I was working in the library itself, it's just it was a quiet place for me to do my work because I was doing research. And I would listen to the librarians as they would talk to people. And quite literally, this was 10 years ago, where librarians were showing people how to go on the internet and download things for free. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, first of all, you should not be doing that as a public service. And secondly, if it is that ubiquitous, if it is that all over the place, that public servants are teaching people how to break the law in this way, well, I suppose most librarians are probably far left leaning to begin with, but if it is that much in the public consciousness and that easy to get access to that knowledge, let alone anybody who is young enough to figure it out for themselves, then again, why in the world would you not do it? Unless, of course, you have a virtuous reason not to. And this is why mainstream entertainment and a lot of people who are producing indie entertainment, who are trying to capture or recapture the spirit of the 60s or 70s or 80s or 90s by putting the exact same kind of thing down on a page or on a screen, are all headed for the trash bin. Yes, I know there's the whole thing about social credit systems and ESGs and all of that, but that's a completely different system than what I'm talking about. Right now, I'm talking about a free market system. And yes, I'm trying to recapture the spirit of the early 80s when I make my graphic novels, but I'm trying to do it in a way that takes the best elements of what makes a good piece of art, a good story, a good product, and bring that forward into what I produce. And as I said, I'll put beautiful women in there because life should be enjoyable, and one of those enjoyable things is a beautiful woman, but at the same time, I'm not going to do it at the expense of storytelling, and I'm not going to do it so that it is destroying the impulse control system of the people who are consuming the product that I make. Sure, it's a fine line, and no, I don't have absolute control over it, nor do I have every answer of how exactly that works, but I'm trying my best to do so. That's why my books say on them, for all ages. Because if they're for all ages, literally, not like most entertainment that you find today that are supposed to be for children, which are not anything close to being for children, I try to make it for all ages, where at the same time to make it interesting enough for all ages. And it's really a simple way to do that. Go back to good storytelling. Go back to heroes. Go back to stories where you're actually inspiring the people in those seats that are reading your material or watching your material. Inspire them to want to be like that person on the screen or on the page. That is to say, to see something virtuous and heroic within those characters and to imitate it within their life. Because when you do so, you don't just make a good piece of art. You don't just do something virtuous yourself. It has the very specific, and I should hope, intended side effect that you're instilling justice within this person, which is part of virtue, so that they're going to come back again and again and allow you to continue to produce that entertainment by giving you a just amount of compensation for what you have put the work into producing. Anyway, that's just a short little rant that I have wanted to get off my chest for some time now. So I figured I would do so in this fallow area here where I don't have an interview for you this week. And at the same time, as I said, I am trying to produce really good hero stories. I'm trying to make money to do so that I can use the money that I make on this project to fund the next and the next project, because I want to continue to make these good stories. Because in some sense, I am making entertainment for myself. I can't find good entertainment anymore, so I am producing it with my books. And it is a joy to do. And so I would appreciate if you have any interest whatsoever in buying my graphic novel. If it looks appealing to you or sounds appealing to you at all, you might want to click on that link in the description and go on over and see if my graphic novel is for you. If it doesn't appeal to you at all, you might want to share the link on your social media. Someone else might find it appealing. Or you just might want to share this video on your social media so that someone new can actually connect with what I see as good entertainment and hopefully something worth sharing. So, if I've given you anything new to think about, hit like, hit the shield in the lower right-hand corner of your screen to subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'm sure there'll be some comments on here which will probably challenge what I have to say, and I would encourage you to make those comments. Because again, I don't have all the answers, and some of you might have the missing piece that I don't. All right, I'll leave it there. I'll see you later. Bye.